Welcome back to ML Miller Fright's Best in Horror 2021. I'm ML Miller. While there's no way of proving it, it's most likely the horror tale came from scary stories told around the campfire. Both of today's anthology-esque stories center around the fine art of horror storytelling. Both have powerfully scary parts, and parts that are quite fun. But without those scary tales told surrounded by the night, lit by a single burning flame, and fueled by that morbid fascination with the dark unknown, it's most likely neither film would exist. This is ML Miller Fright's Best in Horror Countdown 2020-2021. Number 17. Coming in at number 17 is Scare Me. It's available streaming exclusively on Shudder. It was released October 1st, 2020. It's directed and written by Josh Ruben. Writer-director Josh Ruben plays Fred, a wannabe writer who has rented a cabin in the woods to get started on that novel he's been trying to write forever but has never had the time to. While walking one morning, he runs into Fanny, played by The Boys and You're the Worst's Aya Cash, an acclaimed novelist who has rented a cabin near Fred to do the same thing. When a storm causes the power in both cabins to go out, Fanny makes her way over to Fred's place and suggests that both of them tell scary stories to one another to pass the time until the power comes back on. Scare Me is a story celebrating the process of coming up with ideas and writing stories. It illustrates how bouncing ideas off of others is crucial in creating something worthwhile. Seeing Ruben and Cash lob one idea after another at each other is amazing fun. You can see the creative energy flowing from these two as they make fun of some ideas and compliment each other on others. Scare Me really does capture that elusive creative process and presents it clearly and honestly. Focusing on two writers at different stages in their careers is great fodder to pit these two characters against one another, utilizing friendly competition, playful jabs, the current political and social climate, and bitingly honest back-and-forthings for the simple reason of who can scare the other more. Even though this is just two people telling a story to one another, it isn't as simple or as boring as that. Ruben and Cash are fantastic comedic actors, able to contort their faces and bodies into all sorts of uproarious and animated poses and gestures. They don't simply tell this story. These two wildly funny actors bring their tales to life with an assortment of camera angles, tricks of light, and simple special effects. None of these stories are particularly scary, but they are absolutely fun tales and are soaked with a genuine love for the horror genre and all of the spookiness and ickiness that comes with it. Scare Me does have a late turn in tone, but I feel the film leads up to this switcheroo pretty well, given who these characters have presented themselves as and the genre this film falls into. While the bulk of the film rests on Ruben and Cash's shoulders, there are two smaller players worth noting. SNL's Chris Redd shows up as a pizza guy who happens to love horror and sticks around for a few tales. And the extremely talented Rebecca Drysdale, a writer for Key & Peele, dazzles every time she's on screen as a cab driver who loves to chat. These two background players really round out the cast and make the entire film feel full of comedic talent. While Scare Me leads into the comedic side of horror comedy, it rests firmly in the genre due to the wonderful depiction of how stories are made, how competition between others is a good thing, bringing out the best in both, and how aspirations for greatness can be the downfall of many who simply write to succeed instead of write for writing's sake. I highly recommend Scare Me. If you're a writer, performer, or creative at all, you're going to find this thrilling, charming, and highly entertaining film to be a must-see. Today's bonus review is the Mortuary collection. It was released October 15th, 2020, and it's available streaming on Shudder. It's directed and written by Ryan Spindell. When a young wanderer named Sam, played by Caitlin Custer, applies for a job at a mortuary, her interview includes a set of stories told by a caretaker, Montgomery Dark, played by Clancy Brown. Thus begins a quadrilogy of horrors that may involve Sam herself. The Mortuary collection is a wonderful surprise of an anthology, all written and directed by Ryan Spindell. While this looks to be his first full-length feature film, you wouldn't know it by watching the film, as he's able to create an imaginative, thrilling, and downright scary world for his characters to meet their fates in. Because every one of these stories is helmed by the same filmmaker, there's much more an even feel to the look of these stories. And I hope this film leads to bigger and better things for the director. I'll go into a little detail about the stories, but they're best left unspoiled to be enjoyed to their fullest. What's fun about the Mortuary collection is that Sam criticizes Montgomery's stories as they're told, and these criticisms are pretty on the money. The first film is a breezy and thematically light shorty about a woman who finds herself trapped in a bathroom at a high-class party. That's all I'll reveal, but it leads to a shock or two, but the shortened length of this one makes it easily the most forgettable of the bunch. Still, there are some great camera compositions playing with the shape of the gal's dress and the close confines of the old-style decorated bathroom. And quite a cool shock ending. The second story is much better as a frat boy meets his match when he sets his sights on a seemingly innocent young girl to conquer at his party. This one not only plays with some deeper themes involving sexual politics, but also churns out some gratuitously gross body horror that's going to make any man, and probably most women, squirm. This story has a morbidly twisted sense of humor, and leaves no bodily fluid unspattered. Story 3 is a more delicate and emotional tale of a man who is forced to take care of his newlywed bride when she falls ill almost immediately after they marry. Years later, he's saddled to taking care of his wife and has grown weary of treating her on the brink of death. This is still a comedy of errors, despite the dark plot, and actor James Bachman does a great job of creating sympathy as well as pulling off a lot of the sight and sound gags this short requires. This is an unpredictable one that goes into some wonderfully wretched places. The final film incorporates Spindell's short film, The Babysitter Murders, which is where I first discovered this talented director. This story has a few powerhouse twists and turns, and really is able to amp up the tension as a babysitter, played by a much younger Caitlin Custer, makes her way through a dark house as reports on the TV say a lunatic has escaped from a nearby asylum. The short segment is full of unconventional action and suspense, and really has a kineticism that packs a punch. While I found the final moments of the Mortuary collection a bit too long, it turned out to be one of the best horror anthologies I've seen in ages. It has even parts gross-out humor, comedic charm, and downright terrifying moments. Reminiscent of Creepshow in terms of maintaining quality and intensity all the way through, the Mortuary collection is how horror anthologies should be done. I highly recommend this grab bag of horror, where every handful is a mortifying winner. Come back tomorrow for the next installment to the Best in Horror Countdown 2021. If you hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below, you're sure never to miss it. See you then.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be. Stuck inside your reality. You're